Consistency. We hear about consistency literally everywhere, from self help books and productivity books to self improvement gurus talking about it on YouTube. We know what consistency is and why is it important. In fact, we also know that scholars say that the only trait which is common and seen as a pattern in those who are successful is discipline, which is nothing but carrying out your habits in a consistent manner. But are we consistent with our habits? Yeah, I'm gonna let you answer that. When it comes to consistency, all of us make the same mistakes. And it's very basic because we don't really know the logic behind habit formation and how it really works. So, in this video, I'm going to break down what mistakes we make when it comes to habit formation, how we can fix those mistakes, and what is the psychology behind it. Hey, my magnificent humans, I'm Imansha. I'm a psychology student, and on this channel, I make content of what you don't know about psychology and how we can use psychology to make our lives better. So, if you're a psychology enthusiast or just interested in making your life better, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. This entire video is based on a simple formula. This formula is seen or mentioned in many productivity and self help books. It might not be in the same way that I am going to be talking about it in this video, but it definitely talks about the segments of this formula and about the importance of the segments. Much of the content in this video can be congruent to the Atomic Habits book written by James Clear, which is one of the best books if you are interested in habit formation and consistency and making your dream life a reality. I personally read it. I'm a huge fan of James Clear, so it's a must read. So, the formula is that cues lead to the formation of routines, and routines stay consistent because of reinforcements. So, let's try to understand what cues, routines, and reinforcement really mean. First, cues. I'm going to give you three basic scenarios to understand what cues are and why are they important. In the first scenario, you are getting ready for work, you're running late and you see that it's raining. You carry an umbrella with you and use it to reach to your destination. In the second scenario, you're sitting at a restaurant and you're eating your favorite meal and you see there's a fire starting on the table across you. The first thought that comes to your head is to find a fire extinguisher and use it to extinguish the fire. And in the third scenario, your friend sends you a reel and you hear the notification and you pick up your phone and you spend 3 hours scrolling. If you notice, in all of these scenarios, there was an environmental factor that was pushing you or that motivated you to carry out an action. In the first scenario, the rain forced you to carry an umbrella. In the second scenario, the fire forced you to look for a fire extinguisher. And in the third scenario, hearing the sound of the notification, you picked up your phone. So, all of these environmental factors are nothing but cues. Cues are those factors in the environment, or in the psychological term, the stimuli, that help you do a task or they force you to do a task. The task could be your actual survival, or it could be a day-to-day task such as brushing your teeth, waking up to an alarm, or getting up to eat because there are hunger pangs in your tummy. So you see that in our day-to-day lives, we function on cues. We observe something that either makes us uncomfortable or reminds us of something, and then we work upon it. Moving on to understanding what routines are. When we hear the word routine, I'm pretty sure there's a huge timetable in front of you that you think that it involves time blocking and allotting various tasks this much amount of time and sleeping and waking up at the same time every day and following the same routine every day like a robot. That is what routine means to you. Well, that is not basically the term what routine looks like. The term routine basically means carrying out a simple task every day at the same time. That is what routine is. It does not matter if you're creating a huge timetable for yourself. That is a result of extreme or over planning. We will talk about that later in the video ahead. But routine simply means just carrying out a task at the same time every day. Moving on to reinforcements. I'm not going to go into the depths of what reinforcements are, but Reinforcements are very much similar to what rewards are. They basically are rewards, but they are of two different types. The first reward is additive in nature, meaning you get something in return that you like. For example, trophies, stickers, chocolates, treats, they act like rewards. Or an opportunity to do something that you like is also a reward. Whereas the other type of rewards are basically avoiding something that was painful or unpleasant in nature. For example, if I gave you scenarios to get a better hang of what different types of reinforcements or rewards are, the first type of rewards could be the second scenario that I gave in cues, which was, let's say that everyone claps for you when you extinguish the fire at the restaurant. You get something in return, right? And it, let's say that the claps give you a boost of confidence. And the second type of reinforcements or rewards are basically avoiding something that you don't like, which could be seen in the first example, which was you taking an umbrella with you to avoid getting wet so that you reach the destination, which was your office, without being completely drenched. But I pretty much think working in wet clothes itself is a nightmare. So it looks like a reward. So this entire video will be broken down into the mistakes we make in terms of cues, routines, and reinforcements. In terms of cues, the first mistake that we make is we have no cue at all. Let me use a scenario to explain. There's Layla, and Layla made a New Year's resolution of learning yoga this year. She has a very busy schedule, she's a very busy woman. One day she wakes up and she realizes that her evening is partially open for yoga, and she decides that I will do yoga in the evening. She goes about her day, the sun sets, evening finally has arrived. She thinks to herself, oh, I was supposed to do yoga right now. And then she thinks, oh, but I'm also supposed to go get groceries. I'm supposed to cook. I'm also supposed to finish that assignment. If I do yoga, I'll be sweaty. I'll have to take a shower. And I know how I take long showers. Let's just not do yoga right now. And she does not do yoga. Consider this. If Layla, in the morning, when she decided that she will do yoga in the evening, had decided specifically if that when the clock strikes 6:30, I will take my mat, I will wear my green pajamas, I will start a basic yoga tutorial, and I will do it for 15 minutes and then go get groceries, come back, take a shower, cook. Would she follow through? Of course she would. In the second scenario, she will definitely follow through. What did she do? She used implementation intention. What is implementation intention? Look at the term implementation intention. You already have the intention, but you're looking for a medium or a method to implement it. That is implementation intention. In very simple terms, it basically means if X happens, I will do Y. If you have no cue for your habits, you should definitely have cues, because we and our brain basically works on cues. We can't create strong long term habits if we have no cue at all. In fact, a research done by Peter Gollwitzer said that if people use implementation intention, the chances of them following through their habits increases by 300%. That's crazy and kind of common sense. But it's extremely important to use implementation intention if you are specifically looking for long term habits. Another mistake that people make is they do have a cue, but they have emotional ones. What does that mean? Let's say that I am a person who has a very stressful job, and to create work life balance and have a peaceful mind, I want to learn meditation, and I want meditation to be a part of my life. Basically, I want a habit of meditation implemented in my life. But I decide whenever I get stressed, I will meditate. Do you think this will work? I mean, come on. Let's say that you are stressed. You have a lot of stuff on your plate. You're working on various deadlines. You have not eaten well. You're exhausted. And you have a lot of pressure on your head. And in that moment, I come to you and I say, hey, you decided to meditate right now. You would slap me right then and there. I know I would. So, if we use cues which are emotional, it creates a problem for us. Why? Because emotions are very variable. Because they are a result of our limbic system. Limbic system says if I see a situation, I will produce emotions. That is the work of limbic system in a very layman language. So emotions are extremely unreliable, and also when people have emotions they are extremely volatile, and if you tell them to create long term habits based on a very unreliable system, do you think they'll be consistent? Obviously not. So how do we solve this, Mimansha? You solve this by creating a system where the habit that you want to create is stacked with your anchor. What is an anchor? Anchor is basically a habit or a particular act that you do already consistently. For example, eating lunch. You do that every day. I hope you do. Please take care of yourself. Brushing your teeth, taking a shower, all of these things are already inbuilt in our systems. We do them without conscious effort. We don't have to push ourselves if we are employees or students, or if we have basic social roles. I'm pretty sure every human out there is taking a shower, eating, and brushing their teeth. So these are anchors. So, for example, you're a person who loves drinking coffee and definitely drinks a cup of coffee every day, and it is inbuilt in your system. So, you attach it with your meditation habit. So, it would sound like every day when I'm done pouring a cup of coffee, I will sit for 5 minutes and relax and focus on my breathing. That is basically you avoid relying on your emotional cues. The last mistake in cues that I'm going to mention is that we have inconsistent cues. What does that mean? Now, let's say you are a coffee drinker. I'll continue this scenario forward. You are a coffee drinker. You also drink coffee in the evening, in the morning, and also in the afternoon. And you're trying to, let's say, develop the habit of reading. So every time you're done drinking a cup of coffee, you read 5 pages a day. What is the problem, Imansha? I am following through my habit, right? Every day I am reading after I'm done drinking a cup of coffee. You are right, but it will only work for when you have short term goals. If you are trying to build a long term goal, it will not work. It will not work because your brain's memory has a property which is called as context dependent memory. Our memory basically functions depending on the context we are in. If I keep on changing the habit that I'm trying to create and get better at various inconsistent cues, someday I'm doing it in the morning, someday I'm doing it at the night, someday I'm skipping sleep and doing my habit just to compensate, then the chances of you creating a strong, rigid system for yourself will become difficult. Our memory and our brain functions extremely better when it is exposed to the task repeatedly in the same context. So, if I'm a student and I want to crack an exam, every day sitting at the same time in the same place would do me so much more better if I end up studying someday in the night, someday in the mornings, someday in the afternoons. That is the difference. Moving on to the mistakes that people make in terms of routines. So, us humans have this tendency, especially type A personalities, have this tendency to make routines so unbelievably unrealistic that either we don't give ourselves enough time to recover or cope, or we introduce complex concepts extremely earlier on. I'll tell you why this is a problem. The goal is to be consistent with your habits. Now, to be extremely consistent with your habits, you need automaticity. Automaticity is nothing but creating a habit for yourself which is extremely automatic for you now. Like it's like an autopilot mode. Brushing your teeth, eating, having lunch, for example, all of these things, generally speaking, we don't really have to force ourselves to do all of these things, right? So this becomes an automatic response for us. We function on autopilot for this. Getting ready for office, getting ready for your college if you're an employee or a student respectively. All of these things that I'm listing becomes automatic for you. So you are consistent in some of the habits. And for automaticity to occur, you need repetition, not extreme effort. In fact, the more you increase the effort that it takes for you to do the task, less the automaticity happens. So you end up not being consistent at all. So, Imansha, what do we do? You create a plan for yourself, which involves extreme baby steps in the beginning. Like I said, for automaticity, repetition is important. You use consistent cues for yourself to start with the habit that you're trying to create. Carrying forward the example of habit stacking with drinking a cup of coffee, if I'm trying to create a habit of, let's say, reading, because my goal is to be more knowledgeable, in the beginning, in the initial days, when I'm actually implementing this habit in my life, I will start with 2 pages a day. And then gradually, I will increase the number of pages per day or per week according to my capacity. That is how you introduce intensity in your habits and increase the complexity every day gradually. So every time you see yourself picking up a very difficult task that you know realistically is genuinely very difficult for you, you ask yourself, how can I break this down into baby steps so that it becomes an automatic thing for me and I can carry it forward in my life by gradually increasing the complexity and intensity. Moving on to the second mistake that people make is they have a very vague planning in terms of routines. What I mean by that is the example earlier on of Layla could be an example of very vague decision planning. And the fact that in the morning itself, she decided that at 6:30, I will take my yoga mat out, wear my green pajamas, start with a basic yoga tutorial on YouTube. I will do yoga for 30 minutes. This is the example of what and how the appropriateness of the routine planning should be. If Leila had said, oh, I'll just do it in the evening, oh, I'll just do it when I feel like it, habit formation and consistency does not take place. Why does that happen? Let's say that Layla, when she woke up, she decided that in the evening I'll do yoga whenever I feel like it. She actually takes out her yoga mat, she sits and she starts her TV to follow through and deciding which YouTube tutorial to follow. What has actually happened? Now let's analyze Layla's situation in this scenario. She relied on her emotional cues, and when it was evening, she actually sat on the yoga mat. So she did follow through her yoga habit. Now, when she actually had the time to perform yoga, to perform her act, she is wasting that time deciding which tutorial to follow. So when we have pre-decided the things and the details about the habit that we want to be consistent with, we end up reducing that decision fatigue when we have the time. I mean, obviously, if we are spending time deciding what we should do, how we should do it, till what extent should we do it, all of those things, we are wasting our energy. Even if you do it beforehand or when you have the time. But obviously, when you actually have the time, you would rather do the act that you have decided, or would you spend your time deciding? This is the mistake that people make. So to avoid the decision fatigue, when you have the time and opportunity, pre-planning is important. So do avoid vague decision planning. Moving on to the third mistake that people make in routine formation is that their routine is not really enjoyable. Obviously, people make routines based on what they should do rather than what they should enjoy. Here, I will give you my personal example. I do not like exercise. That's a very known fact. The people who love me know that I do not like exercise. Though I do like dancing, I love dancing. But recently I found out that I have PCOD. So the doctor told me to include more movement in my routines. So I had to exercise. So what did I do? I decided which type of exercise do I somewhat like. It turns out to be yoga. I really do enjoy yoga. It's there actually on my wall. So what I decided was I will do cardio and the workouts that I'm supposed to do, and followed by yoga. I do like yoga. It is still an exercise, so I will include that. And like I said, I do like dancing as well. So throughout the week, I have assigned one day where I'm just doing dance workouts. I am moving to Dua Lipa. How does it help me? It builds my temptation. And this phenomena is also called as temptation building. So how does it work? If you include something that you like in the habits that you are trying to create, it, rather than becoming a punishment or a form of resentment for yourself, it becomes something that you like and builds self-confidence. So try to build that temptation for yourself. If you are a student trying to crack an exam, think about your hobbies. If you have one such as painting, so every time you're done with studying for particular hours, you can take out your canvas and paint. Or another creative thing that actually I used to do during my 12th boards was I really like cute stationery and I did not like physics. So I started to use cute stationery when I'm studying physics. I mean, I ended up passing. I can't really say that it was because of those cute stationery, but I mean, it got me to open the book. Moving on to the mistakes that people make in terms of reinforcements. The first mistake that people make is they keep the reward for themselves, but it is extremely late. What do I mean by that? I mean, for example, if you have decided for yourself that if I am consistent for a month in terms of my exercise habit, I will take a trip at the end of the month. A very good plan, solid planning. There's a small mistake. Our brain has this system called as the dopaminergic reward system, which basically creates the property of the brain that it prefers instant rewards over long term outcomes. That is why our brain likes scrolling much more than exercise, or our brain likes scrolling much more than doing a habit that you know has long term effects. So, if we include rewards for us right after we have done something that we have wanted to for a long time, your brain will register it in a way that it will associate that pleasure with that action. So let's say every time you have followed through the habit of going to the gym, you give yourself a treat. By treat, I don't mean actually eating something. By treat, I mean going for a walk at your favorite location, or listening to your favorite music, dancing to your favorite music. All of this can act as a reward if you do this right after you've done working out. And also, it somewhere builds the temptation that, oh, I'm supposed to get this done because then I can go to that place that I really like. Obviously, that does not give you the excuse to slack off, but this is a system that you can build, which somewhere increases the chances of you being consistent. That is why don't keep a reward for yourself which is way too delayed. Moving on to the second mistake that people make is that the rewards that they have is extremely inconsistent to the habits and the identity that they have. Why is it a problem, Imansha? Fair question. There is a small little theory which is called as the cognitive consistency theory. It is one of the most beautiful theories that I've ever read. It basically tells us that we have this deep psychological drive that forces us to do things which are congruent or aligned to our identity or who we think we are. So if I'm a kind person, I would really love doing charity work. So if I'm trying to create a habit which is somewhere aligned with what kind of person I am, if I'm giving myself a reward that is not related to who I am and what habits I'm trying to build, it does not give us that feeling of having it as a reward. For example, I think, and I have this identity that I am a person who loves to be fit. My goal is to run a marathon. So my habit is to work out. But after every workout, I end up scrolling. I mean, why, Mamansha? Scrolling is dopamine for your brain, right? Why not do it? Obviously, but it does not align with what and who you are identifying as, right? Or let's say if you are a fit person and right after working out, as a treat and as a reward, you eat a big piece of cake. It doesn't really make sense, right? But that is what people naturally end up doing. They say that, hey, I did this, I do deserve this too. Hey, I did that, okay? I was consistent with all of this, so I do deserve this as well. To help you better understand this, I will give a few examples on the screen. The last mistake that I'm going to talk about in this video in terms of rewards is that people have no rewards at all. I used to do this and I used to think, why am I not consistent with my habits? Why am I again and again and again coming back to square one? And that was because I was not patting myself at the back when I was actually done with the habits that I wanted to create in the first place. You know, the feeling that you get when you are working on something for so long and you finally have cracked it after going through multiple problems and obstacles. The feeling of proudness and that good feeling in the tummy that you get in the brain, there is a neurological phenomenon happens when you feel that. BJ Fogg calls it the shine. And this shine works as a reward. It pushes you to do more complex tasks in the future. And the more you have it, the more confidence, the more consistency increases. So every time you are done with a task, do acknowledge the fact that you have done it. May it be about studying, reading, working out, or any habit that you are trying to create. Because at the end of the day, the fact that you want to do it and you are working towards it and watching this video proves that you just want to be a better person in terms of that goal, right? For example, every time you're done with reading a chapter in a book, genuinely pat yourself at the back. I do that. And it may seem silly, but it acts as a reinforcement for me. I end up respecting myself more. And that is why I end up being more consistent with my stuff. A year ago, I couldn't imagine the fact that I would exercise. But this year, it has been 4 weeks now without any breaks. I am consistent with that habit. That is the difference when you reinforce yourself. It gives you a different sense of purpose and a different sense of self identity. With that, we have reached to the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed this video and you take something away from this. If you have any doubts, feedback, or want to see me make videos on some topics, just comment down below. So for now, bye my magnificent human. I will see you in the next one.